Hey, how you doing? Daniel Ruiz ties on the writer's life back from the Friday morning jog, pursued by a larger than normal dog. I've normally been chased by the smaller dogs, puppies in one instance. This was a brown dog, about medium height. It was called Toby, as it set off after me around lap three. The owner called it back Toby. Toby had a ball in its mouth, and in his mouth, I'm assuming Toby was a male, a man dog, whatever you call dogs, men dogs. And it just brought back to mind the fiercest Toby in SW9, the dog that ruled by fear through the 80s and first half of the 90s, my aunt's dog. And suddenly I was transported back to September 1990 when I was trying to fix the time on my aunt's video recorder, and Toby mounted me, and just felt a shudder. And then I just continued with my run. This morning I'm going to talk to you about a girl called Bernie that I met when I was 4 years old at school. I was one of the spring intake of kids. I don't know how it works now. In my day, if you were born between September and December, you started school in September. If you were a spring kid like me, you joined after Christmas, and then the summer kids joined after Easter. So I was in that middle group. And God, the arm's starting to hurt already. A minute and a half. And yeah, I joined in January, and right away it became clear that this girl, Bernie, was very tall, ginger-haired girl. She was some months older than me, and in fact, she was a year older than me. So I don't know how it worked, why we were both in the same class. It was very confusing, and that wasn't the only kid who should have been in the year above. Very confusing. Never understood that. But anyway, her family, it turned out, it became apparent as we were going to school in the mornings, walking to school and walking home, that we lived in the same area. In fact, Bernie lived with her family at the top of my road, Mayflower Road, on Clapham Road, a red brick building, a massive Victorian building. She was Irish. Well, her parents were Irish. She was like myself, the child of immigrants. So I thought we would have had some commonality. Most kids back then at that school were the children of immigrants. Maybe she just couldn't get her head around that my family spoke in a funny way. I don't know what it was, but I remember that she just seemed to take an instant dislike to me, and that very early on, I think we spoke once, and she made clear that she didn't like me. I was 4 at the time. The situation never changed. She was very tall, and she got that height from her mum. I remember she wanted to be a ballerina. I remember running into her mum some years later. The mum was a cleaner for my friend's dad's pub in Clapham North, and the mum was nice. She knew who I was, obviously, but she spoke to me unlike her daughter. I didn't have the maturity at that time to say, "Hey, what's going on with your daughter?" She never speaks to me. She had some cousins, another girl who was in our class. I think her name was Lorna, and an older brother who was a couple of years older than us. And as far as I'm aware, Bernie didn't have any siblings. So nothing changed. I could never get anything out of her. Now, as someone who is, had to battle shyness, and it's only really, getting older and becoming, confident in maybe, in myself, really. And as my friend the Space Daddy once said to me, it can be a form of arrogance to assume that when you walk into a room, people might be talking about you. They often are, but it would be arrogant to presume that's the case all the time. So that advice helped me quite a lot. It allowed me to build my confidence up. And I can still be mistaken for aloof. I'll leave that up to people. So I'm mindful that maybe Bernie was just very shy rather than aloof. But I just remember very vaguely that there was one conversation right at the start of our time together where she made it clear that she didn't like me. And can't really think of the reason why that was the case. Now, as I say, as I've gotten older, I've kind of realised belatedly the importance of community. If you're on your own, as I am, sometimes the faces that you recognise on the street, or in my case in the cafe, often they're the only people that you see all week. So it's important to have some sort of interaction. And it reminds me of, being a kid and, going around with my mum and dad and them, stopping and talking to people they knew from somewhere, maybe didn't know too well, but it was always polite, cordial. That's how you build a community. Now, in the cafe, I was coming up to my 19th year there, and there was this couple, the Chinfisher couple. If you're familiar with my old podcast, Daniel Ruiz Tyson is available, which also ran on Resonance FM and the subsequent Cafe Chronicles series, you'll know who the Chinfishers are. This couple, both of whom happen to have Chinfishers, and their children have Chinfishers too. So we never used to exchange a hello, and after about 18, 19 years, given that I was going there in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, the staff would let me in, even though the cafe wouldn't open till 8, and they'd let in the Fishers, and we were the only ones in the cafe. It just got to the point where I thought, this is rude. If they're not going to say hello to me, I've got no problem getting the hello off the ground. And one day I just went in there. They were at their table by my toilet table, and I gave them the hello. They were shocked, I think, pleasantly surprised perhaps. They gave me the hello back, or it might have been a morning. We never got the goodbye off the ground. They would leave before me. Just swapping the arm there. And yeah, that was enough really. The hello, I thought, I've done the hello. If they want to get a goodbye off the ground, they'll get a goodbye off the ground. The thing is, if I don't speak to people in the cafe, if I see them in the street, I don't give the hello. I think if you're not talking to that person where you see them, in my case, the cafe, there's no point saying hello on the street. You might as well say hello indoors then as well. So the hello has got to work internally and externally. I remember 2011, 2012, NatWest, Cashpoint, Stockwell, a guy wearing one of those sand-coloured leather jackets that not many people can pull off. My aunt found one at her work once in 2001, gave it to me. I wore it for the weekend. I couldn't pull it off. So it went in the bin. I don't think it went to a charity shop. I'm not the kind of guy that steps into a charity shop. Not back then anyway. And he'd left £60 at the cash point. It's the Great Recession. I could have done with that money, but I'm not that kind of guy. Chased after him, gave him his money back, hoping he would have done the same for me. I'm not sure he would have, but let's not be presumptuous. He thanked me profusely, and I thought, that's fine. I don't know this guy. I've never seen him before. That same day, I saw him another 2 occasions on South Lambeth Road, and he was thanking me again. So he was over thanking me, and then I was seeing him again for another couple of weeks. So there was the hello, how you doing? It quickly escalated, and I just thought, maybe if I'd known this was going to happen, maybe I wouldn't have chased after him with the money. I don't know. So never able to get the hello off Bernie. And I only left Mayflower Road in my mid-20s, and Bernie, I think, was still living at home too, because I would see her often, By then I'd see her, she was dating, she had a regular boyfriend. And of course, being a Spanish kid, I was in no rush to leave home. It's a trade-off really. What do you want? Do you want to be living with the girl in your 20s and getting laid regularly, or do you want to be at home sleeping on a Z bed for 11 years but getting your meals cooked? I chose the latter option. I was in no rush to live my life. And it turned out that Bernie was a very good friend of a friend's sister, so I began to encounter her socially a few times, and still there was nothing from her. Still, she didn't give me a hello. And I'm inclined to think with her that it wasn't really shyness. There was just something that she didn't like about me. And by then, we were into like 30 years of this, 30 years of the no hello. And I just wonder, whatever it was that she decided she didn't like about me, didn't she ever think at any point, has this guy changed? Let's assess what I didn't like about him at 4 and see if those traits are still there. Maybe it's time to give this guy another chance. She never did, She never did. Part of me admires that commitment to the no hello, She made a decision. She didn't like me. She stuck with it. Nothing was going to change her mind. If you like this video, do click the share and subscribe button, which is somewhere around here. Meanwhile, to Bernie, I salute the non-commitment to getting to know me, to ever giving me a chance to get to know you. Subscribe. You can find the rest of my work at danielruiztyson.com, and I hope that you enjoy your day. Take care.